Many years ago, I had an illustration which I heard as a new believer. And the illustration was about a very simple tree. And I was told that in the tree, below the soil, there is root. Above the soil, we all know, is the shoot and the branch and the fruits and the leaves. So this talks about two kinds of relationship. One kind of relationship, but two kinds of problems in relationship. One is, I call it as the root problem. The other one, I call it as a fruit problem. And when it comes to fruit, number of them, we all try to handle the fruit, use the fruit if it is a good fruit, and throw the fruit if it is not a good fruit. But the tree is identified with the fruit. But there is a thing called root also. That's a hidden problem in relationship. Fruit problem in relationship, I call it as a root problem in relationship. And today, may I share with you the root of relationship. Let me keep it as a suspense. What is the root of the relationship? Ezekiel chapter 28. We see from verses 12 to 15, there are at least 7 things about one person who had a relationship in heaven with God. And this person is introduced as someone who was a perfect person, verse 12. And he was full of wisdom, verse 12 of Ezekiel 28. And this person was in the garden of God. Wow. And then he was an anointed person. Wow, this is super. This is fantastic. Verse 14 says he was an anointed person. And he was blameless, verse 15. And the top, he had a responsibility. Responsibility. Yes, nobody gets a responsibility. John chapter 3, verse 27 says, unless it is given from heaven, meaning God. And then he also had a leadership ability. He was a leader. So there are 7 things about this person: perfect, full of wisdom, and he was his address was care of the garden of God, anointed person, blameless, a lot of responsibility, and he was a leader. Lot of angels was under him. And what was his problem? He was with God, he was in the presence of God, and he had all these noble qualities. But what was his problem? His problem was he was not satisfied. Not satisfied. The spirit of dissatisfaction overtook. The spirit of unsatisfaction hovered over this person who was an archangel. And sin started because one person in the presence of God in heaven was not satisfied with the God-given responsibility, God-given anointing, God-given position, God-given relationship, God-given talents. That is how sin started. Someone who was not satisfied. Okay, how did this happen? The book of Isaiah chapter 14, it says, he said in his heart. Dissatisfaction begins in our heart. Dissatisfaction in relationship comes when we talk to ourselves. When I talk to myself and I meditate, I talk, I discuss with myself. That is how this person in Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 13, he said it in his own heart. And secondly, we also see at least 5 times he used the word I will. Dissatisfaction comes when you decide I will. That is how this great person had a great fall, because this person was not satisfied with the God-given responsibility or leadership or anointing and responsibilities. And then he goes on to say in chapter 14 and verse 13 and 14 of Isaiah that he says, my throne, my. So, my throne. We can also have an invisible my throne. I can have an invisible my throne and be dissatisfied. May God help me. May God help us not to be dissatisfied with whatever God gives us. The kind of family God gives us, the kind of relationship God gives us, the kind of job God gives us, the kind of finance, the house or whatever, siblings. So here is a person whose dissatisfaction came out because of my throne. And then he also had an attitude of ascending. Twice the word, I will ascend. Twice the word in verse 13 and 14 of Isaiah 14, twice the word comes above, spirit of exaltation. Dissatisfaction comes, moving or flowing with, exaltation. And of course, there were things of, it was related to God. In relationship with God, he was dissatisfied. I repeat, in relationship with God, this person in heaven was dissatisfied, was not satisfied. And he also says, I will make myself, something of my will, my plan, my strength, my, So, chapter 14 and verse 14 of Isaiah, I will make myself, and then he goes on to say, like the Most High. I want to become Most High. I wanted to exalt my throne above the throne of God. I want to be equal with God. We all should be like God. But to be like God in character is welcome, but to be like God in position, no. God is unique. God is unique. And so let's examine ourselves. May God bless us to check the root of relationship. God bless you. Shalom.